When I set out for Delphi from Athens, I didn't think of it as just another day trip. For me, it felt like an Odyssey to the sanctuary of Apollo, god of light, truth, music, and knowledge. If there was ever a place where science, history, art, and myth intersected, it had to be in Delphi. My mission was simple: to walk the path of seekers before me and see what Apollo might still have to say today. The tour bus rolled out of Athens into morning traffic. Slowly, Hadrian's Arch came into view, a marble gateway from 131 AD, separating the Athens of Theseus from Hadrian's New Athens. Our guide told us it's made of calcium carbonate, a stone that resists sunlight but slowly yields to acid rain. Light and chemistry locked in stone, a quiet reminder of nature's slow but persistent work across centuries. A little further on, a bronze statue of Alexander the Great appeared, frozen mid-gaze, staring east as if still leading his army toward Persia. Hard to believe he was barely 20 when he set out, and by 30, ruler of lands stretching from Greece to India. I couldn't help but think of his ambition, not just conquest, but creating a legacy that would endure long after his life. I found myself wondering what it must have felt like to see the world through his eyes. The bus rolled towards Syntagma Square and the Greek Parliament. The changing of the guard remained out of view. But even from the window, the building's presence reminded me of Greece's long traditions of civic order and history. Soon, the neoclassical trilogy of Athens, the Academy, the University, and the National Library, appeared in gleaming white marble. Our guide explained how these buildings, designed in the mid-1800s by Danish architects, carry forward Athens' centuries-old devotion to learning, philosophy, and knowledge. I could almost imagine the debates and discoveries that shaped this city's intellectual heritage. Along the road out of Athens, the tour guide pointed out the pale silhouette of Mount Pentelicus to the east. Its marble famously built the Acropolis in Athens, and it was also used in some structures at Delphi. Tiny threads connecting these two ancient sites. The tour guide pointed off to the right, toward the plain of Marathon. Hidden beyond the hills and not directly visible from the highway, it was enough to summon its story. The 192 Athenians who fell in 490 BC, holding back the Persians. Their burial mound still stands today, a solemn witness to courage and endurance. She also told the tale of Phidippides running back to Athens, crying victory before collapsing. A legend that gave birth to the marathon race we still run today. I couldn't help noticing the road signs. Greek letters on top, Latin below. Our guide reminded us that the Greek alphabet was created around the 8th century BC, nearly 3,000 years ago. Even the word alphabet comes straight from alpha and beta. And so many science words trace back to Greek too. Atom from atomos, which means uncuttable. Physics from physis, which means nature. Biology from bios, and logos, study of life. Chemistry from chemia, and astronomy from astron plus nomos, laws of the stars. Amazing how these ancient words still shape how we explore and understand the world. Lake Iliki sparkled on one side, still supplying drinking water to Athens. On the left, blackened hillsides revealed the scars of wildfires. The tour guide explained that Greece has faced some of the worst fires in Europe, with rising temperatures, drier seasons, and stronger winds, only making things worse. The Evros fire in 2023 was the largest ever recorded in the European Union. And by 2025, conditions had made wildfires across Greece and the eastern Mediterranean up to 10 times more likely. Seeing the contrast between water and fire, life and destruction, I thought about how climate change is leaving its mark even here. As the bus wound higher, the village of Arahova appeared, clinging to the slopes of Mount Parnassus. Today, it's known as a ski resort and a charming stop for travelers. Mount Parnassus, a limestone giant, second only to Olympus, cradles Delphi on its slopes. Our guide explained that much of the limestone used in building the sanctuary of Apollo, including the temple of Apollo, actually came from quarries on Parnassus itself, just a few kilometers away. At Delphi, the first thing that struck me was the view. Mountains and sky unfolding in every direction. My bus group was scheduled to start the climb at noon. The sun was merciless, the temperature pushing into the 90s. I told myself, if you want a word from Apollo, you've really got to work for it. Right at the entrance, I passed through the Roman Agora. Hard to imagine now, but this was a Roman-era marketplace, where pilgrims once bought votive offerings for Apollo before their climb. I set off along the sacred way, the ancient path pilgrims once followed to reach Apollo's sanctuary. Even in its ruins, the road felt alive, as the footsteps from centuries past still echoed on the stones. The tour guide pointed out the treasuries, tiny marble buildings built by different Greek city-states to house offerings and commemorate victories. On either side of the path they stood, filled with spoils of war and tokens of gratitude. Politics, devotion, ambition, they all mingled here under Apollo's watchful gaze. My pulse quickened, not just from the climb, but from the anticipation of finally stepping into the heart of Delphi, Apollo's sanctuary. Our guide shared the story of Delphi's origin. The python, a giant serpent born of Gaia, the earth goddess, once roamed this site. Apollo slew it, claiming the sanctuary, and making this a sacred crossroads between the divine and the earth. Even in ruins, the temple's columns rise with quiet authority, a reminder that this was once the beating heart of the ancient world. Here, the oracle, the Pythia, sat above a fissure in the earth, inhaling mysterious vapors and speaking in trance-like utterances, conveying Apollo's will. Priests would interpret her words, offering guidance to city-states, generals, and ordinary people alike. Our guide explained that modern scientists think the vapors came from intersecting faults beneath the temple, carrying gases like ethylene and methane. Ethylene in low doses can induce euphoria and altered states, a scientific clue to how the oracle's visions might have worked. And that same gas is used today to ripen bananas, tomatoes, and avocados. A perfect example of ancient mysteries meeting modern science. And then I came to the Omphalos, the navel of the world. Our guide told the legend. Zeus released two eagles from opposite ends of the earth, and they met right above Delphi. To mark that spot, Zeus placed the Omphalos, a symbol of the cosmic crossroads between humans and gods. The Omphalos Stone in the sanctuary is a replica, while the carved one with its net-like beehive surface is kept in the Archaeological Museum. Some scholars think even that piece may be a later Hellenistic or Roman copy, since the true original could have been lost in antiquity. But for me, the details didn't matter. Standing here, I could feel the myth alive, a strange connection to a world where human striving and divine knowledge met. And since many people often wonder, no, the famous circular tholos, with its 3 standing columns, the most photographed part of Delphi, isn't on this path. Our tour guide explained that it belongs to the sanctuary of Athena Pronaia, a separate site lower down the slope. After a rockfall in October 2024 injured 2 tourists, the sanctuary has been closed for safety, so I couldn't visit it. The path wound further upward. To the Theater of Delphi, carved gracefully into the mountainside. Even in ruins, it was breathtaking. The guide pointed out how the limestone benches absorb background noise, but carry the human voice, so that thousands could hear music, poetry, and plays without any amplification. Standing there, I tried to imagine the audience centuries ago, sitting in perfect acoustical harmony with nature and architecture. Finally, one last steep climb brought me to the Stadium of Delphi, perched about 660 meters above sea level and stretching nearly 180 meters along the slope of Mount Parnassus. The guide explained how athletes once competed here in the Pythian Games, not for medals or money, but for a simple crown of wild olive. The climb was brutal and nearly defeated me. Scorching sun, steep path, almost no shade. Every step felt twice as long. It took me about an hour to reach the top, with plenty of stops for water and awe. But when I finally stood at the top, looking down the ancient track where the Pythian athletes once raced, it hit me. Apollo's games weren't about winning or wealth or power or prestige. They were about honor, harmony, and striving for excellence. In that moment, breathless and drenched in sweat, I felt like I had earned my own olive crown, not for speed, but for endurance under the blistering sun. Coming down was quicker, about half the time of the climb, but each step carried a deep gratitude. Gratitude for finishing the ascent, and for walking the same sacred path once trodden beneath Apollo's gaze, where his presence still seems to linger in every stone. Our guide explained that every block in the sanctuary of Apollo was quarried from Mount Parnassus itself. hauled down the slopes on sledges or rollers, and set in place without mortar, locked tight with iron clamps. The marble for statues and columns sometimes came from far-off islands like Paros or Naxos. Piece by piece, the sanctuary was raised from the very mountain it clings to, a lasting testament to human skill, devotion, and Apollo's enduring presence. I stepped into the cool air of the Delphi Museum, a relief after the scorching sun. And there he was, the Charioteer of Delphi, nearly 2,500 years old, life-sized bronze, his gaze steady and eternal. The tour guide explained the lost wax casting technique. Molten bronze poured into a wax model, creating an almost perfect form. Bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, reacts with oxygen and moisture to form a greenish patina that actually preserves the statue. I was struck. This was artistry and chemistry working together, centuries before modern science. I also saw chrysoelephantine figures of Apollo, Artemis, and Leto, gold and ivory sheets carefully fitted over a wooden core, a technique demanding extraordinary precision. Their presence was still commanding, their brilliance undimmed across 2,500 years. Nearby stood a large silver and gilded bull, a votive offering to Apollo, showing not just artistry but the chemistry behind combining and finishing metals to endure millennia. Further along, the twin kouroi, Cleobus and Byton, stood frozen in youthful perfection, over 2,600 years old, a testament to how the Greeks celebrated ideal form and human beauty. And then a statue of Socrates, a quiet reminder that Delphi was more than offerings and oracles. It was a place where ideas were born and where thinkers helped shape the world. Stepping back outside, I realized Apollo's presence still lingers, not just in stone and art, but in the mountain air itself. Delphi isn't only ruins, it's a dialogue across centuries. As I walked through its streets, it struck me. Apollo's gift is no longer prophecy, but the reminder that truth, light, and knowledge are always worth the climb, even when the path is steep, even under the scorching sun. If curiosity moves you to explore, to question, to discover, to wonder, let's keep learning together. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. See you on the next journey. Happy learning. Thank you.